Jedi Survivor is a 10, but it has some issues. Quite a lot of them, in fact. When Respawn Entertainment's first Star Wars game, Fallen Order, came out in 2019, I absolutely loved it. This was my kind of Star Wars, a fun, fast-paced adventure with awesome characters, cool Jedi stuff, and exciting otherworldly set pieces. Now, we've had to wait over 4 years for the sequel, but it's finally here. My hype for this game was through the roof. It looked like it would easily trump the first game in every regard. But, man, is this thing a bummer. Unfortunately, this is mostly due to catastrophic technical performances. Jedi Survivor is just busted on a technical level. The PC version especially is a disaster. I don't even know where to begin. Just look at how the game shipped. No stable frame rate, stuttering, flickering and glitches all over the place, and what the living fuck is going on with this game's overall look. Everything looks washed out and smeared and just ugh. The first big patch fixed some stuff, but the game still looks like a 5-year-old's first painting. And yes, the PS5 version is a bit more stable, but it's not exactly Picasso we get to look at here either. Even in this version, the game's visuals don't deliver on the high expectation you should have for AAA games in 2023, and the performance mode is a joke. But enough ranting. These things will be patched, and eventually Jedi Survivor will be an amazing game, right? I don't know about that. Even if you ignore everyone looking like a wax figure and lights flickering like it's Stranger Things, what is the actual game like? Jedi Survivor is not a terrible game, it's actually pretty fun, just like the first game. Combat is still breezy and enjoyable, and using the Jedi powers has never felt better. But these are just a few positive highlights. Overall, the developers at Respawn have disappointed us in more ways than just the technological performances. So let's take a look at the combat, and where they've messed up here specifically. Especially with the 5 stances that were introduced in Survivor. So when I first heard about the 5 stances, I was expecting something like Ghost of Tsushima, where every enemy had different weaknesses based on your stances. There's none of that here. The combat in this game is very simple, way too simple in my opinion. Yes, the dual saber is better for groups, and the dual wield is better for parrying, but the game is just so easy that none of that really matters. And making the skill system so expensive to use, especially when you want to respec, discourages players from trying out other stances that they haven't got into yet. All in all, the combat feels miles behind other games in the genre like Tsushima or Sekiro. But hey, traversal is still hella fun. Again, the game keeps it maybe too simple here. If you'd expect to do much else than follow the pre-designed paths, you'll be disappointed. But when your cool abilities like your wall runs, your double jumps, and the awesome new grappling hook come together, it does feel awesome, and you can be creative. This is one of the major reasons why the new open world design of the game ends up working somewhat. Exploring the bigger areas of the game, like Kobo or Jeddah, is super fun, especially with some of the later abilities that we won't spoil here. This is what makes the game enjoyable enough when it works. Okay, so what about the story? Fallen Order didn't have the most original or amazing plot. What that game did have was fantastic acting and fun, sharp writing, as well as a real knack for directing cool scenes. Somehow, Survivor has taken a hit in all of those areas. The actors are, again, great, and they're trying their best, but the writing is not nearly as punchy and as engaging as it was in the first game. Especially the beginning, which is pretty rough, where characters are kind of aimlessly wandering around and the story takes ages to get going. The game does improve slightly in this regard, especially as you find more and more characters from the first game. And yes, Respawn still absolutely nail the Star Wars atmosphere. Overall, the plot is underwhelming. So what do I think of Jedi Survivor in the end? No, it's not a 10. Unfortunately, it's far from it. After loving Fallen Order, I expected the sequel to be a better game in every regard and to really blow my mind. I expected it to be like Ragnarok was to God of War. Instead, it's an entertaining enough game, which definitely tries to be much more ambitious than its predecessor, and it does pull off some cool Star Wars stuff, but it never quite reaches the heights of its predecessor, while actually being weaker in many ways. So what is our rating for Jedi Survivor? Jedi Survivor is like a lukewarm glass of Coke. It's still on brand, but it's ultimately disappointing.